The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly around the UES Prometheus as it moved through the darkness between stars. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge watching the stars through the main viewport. Her fingers drummed against the metal railing as she listened to the quiet hum of the ship's engines. The Prometheus was humanity's newest and strongest battleship. It was huge, almost 2 kilometers long, with thick armor plating that made it look like a floating fortress. The ship had been built for war, but today it was on a peaceful mission. They were exploring the outer edges of human space, looking for new worlds and checking for any threats. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Torres from the sensor station. Her voice cut through the quiet bridge. "I'm picking up something strange on long-range sensors. Energy readings that don't match anything in our database." Chen turned away from the viewport and walked over to the sensor station. The screen showed a star system about 3 light hours away. Bright dots of energy were moving around one of the planets. "What are we looking at, Torres?" "Unknown energy signatures, Captain. Multiple contacts. The computer says there are at least 15 ships, maybe more. They're using some kind of plasma-based technology." Torres looked up from her screen with worried eyes. "Captain, I don't think these are human ships." The bridge went silent. Everyone knew what this meant. After hundreds of years of traveling through space, humanity had finally found someone else out there. "This was first contact with an alien species. Set course for that system," Chen ordered, "but keep us at a safe distance. I want to know what's happening before we get too close." The Prometheus changed direction and began moving toward the unknown system. As they got closer, the sensors picked up more details. Commander Jake Morrison, Chen's second-in-command, studied the readings at his station. "Captain, it looks like there's a battle going on," Morrison reported. "The 15 ships are attacking one smaller vessel. The smaller ship's shields are failing." Chen felt her stomach tighten. Someone was being attacked. It didn't matter if they were human or alien. Her duty was clear. "Can we get a visual?" The main screen flickered to life, showing the distant battle. The attacking ships were beautiful and deadly. They looked like they were made of crystal and light, with smooth curves and glowing edges. Their weapons fired bright beams of blue plasma that struck the smaller ship again and again. The ship being attacked was different. It was dark and angular, with strange symbols on its hull. Its shields sparked and flashed as the plasma beams hit them. Even from this distance, Chen could see that the smaller ship was losing the fight. "The smaller ship is trying to run," Torres reported, "but the other ships have it surrounded. Its engines are damaged." Chen watched the one-sided battle and made her decision. "Take us closer." Battle stations. Red lights flashed throughout the Prometheus as the crew prepared for possible combat. The ship's massive weapons came online and its shields powered up. Unlike the elegant alien ships, the Prometheus looked rough and dangerous. Its hull was covered with missile tubes, railgun turrets, and antenna arrays. As they approached the battle, one of the crystal ships broke away from the attack and moved toward them. Chen could see it was much smaller than the Prometheus, but it moved with incredible grace. "Incoming transmission," called out the communications officer. "It's from the approaching ship. The computer is trying to translate." Strange sounds filled the bridge, musical tones and harmonics that hurt to listen to. Slowly, the translation computer began to make sense of the alien language. "Unknown vessel, you have entered Zephyrian space without permission. You will leave immediately or be destroyed." Chen stepped forward. "Open a channel. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth ship Prometheus. We are explorers from the planet Earth. We saw your attack on that smaller ship and came to investigate." There was a long pause before the alien replied. When it spoke again, there was surprise in its musical voice. "Earth, we have no record of this world. You are a new species to us. Your ship design is primitive. We are the Zephyrian Confederacy, rulers of this region of space. The ship we are destroying carries criminals who threaten our peace." Chen looked at the battle still raging in the distance. The smaller ship's shields were almost gone. "What kind of criminals?" "That is not your concern, primitive one. You will leave this system now, or you will share their fate." The alien ship moved closer to the Prometheus, and Chen could see weapon ports opening along its crystal hull. More Zephyrian ships were turning toward them, breaking off their attack on the refugee vessel. "Captain," Morrison whispered, "their weapons are powering up." Chen studied the elegant alien ships. They looked fast and deadly, but there was something about them that seemed too clean, too perfect. The Prometheus, by comparison, looked like a flying weapon built for one purpose: war. "We're not leaving," Chen said into the communicator. If that ship contains criminals, prove it. Otherwise, we're going to assume they're refugees who need help. The aliens' musical laughter filled the bridge. You dare challenge the Zephyrian Confederacy with that ugly metal box? Our weapons will turn your primitive ship into vapor in seconds. Chen felt anger rising in her chest. She had spent 20 years in the Earth Defense Force, fighting pirates and rebels across human space. She knew what bullies looked like no matter what species they were. All ships prepare to fire, came the alien voice. Destroy both vessels. The Zephyrian ships formed a battle line, their crystal hulls glowing brighter as they prepared to attack. Chen looked around the bridge at her crew. These were good people who had signed up to explore the stars, not to fight a war. But sometimes war found you anyway. Shields to maximum, Chen ordered. All weapon systems online. If they want to fight, we'll give them one they won't forget. The Prometheus hung in space like a steel predator, its weapons aimed at the beautiful alien ships. Neither side moved for a long moment. Then the first Zephyrian ship opened fire, and humanity's first contact with alien life became humanity's first interstellar war. The Zephyrian ships moved like deadly dancers through space, their crystal hulls catching the light of the distant star. High Legate Vextar stood in the command center of his flagship, watching the strange alien vessel through the viewing crystal. The ship looked like nothing he had ever seen before. What is that thing? Asked Sublegate Kirith, her harmonious voice carrying notes of disgust. It looks like someone welded metal plates together without any thought for beauty or grace. Vextar studied the human ship with his expert eye. In his 300 years of service, he had seen the vessels of many different species. The elegant energy ships of the Altarians, the bioorganic craft of the Nexari, the geometric precision of the crystalline collective. But this ship was different. It was crude, angular, and covered with what looked like weapons. They call themselves humans, Vextar said, and they claim to be from a world called Earth. Our databases have no record of this species or planet. A primitive species, clearly, Kirith replied. Look at their ship design. No elegance, no harmony with space itself. They probably just discovered faster-than-light travel. Vextar nodded in agreement. The Zephyrian Confederacy had been masters of space for thousands of years. Their ships were works of art that moved through space like living things. They had perfected plasma technology, energy shields, and weapons that could destroy entire fleets. What could one primitive species do against such power? High Legate, called out the communication officer. The humans are requesting to speak with you again. Put them through, Vextar said. He would enjoy showing these newcomers the power of the Confederacy. The human captain appeared on the viewing crystal. She was a small creature with short dark hair and determined eyes. Vextar had to admit she showed no fear, even though she was clearly outmatched. High Legate Vextar, the human said. I am Captain Chen. I want to know what crimes that ship has committed. If they are truly criminals, we will not interfere. But if they are innocent, we cannot stand by and watch them be destroyed. Vextar felt amused by the human's boldness. Captain Chen, you are new to this part of space. The Kethmori in that ship are rebels who have attacked our colonies and killed our people. They refuse to accept Confederacy rule and spread chaos wherever they go. Do you have proof of these crimes? Chen asked. The question made Vextar angry. No one questioned the Confederacy's justice. We do not need to prove anything to a primitive species that barely knows how to travel between stars. You will leave this system immediately, or we will destroy your ship along with the Kethmori vessel. Chen's face hardened. We've fought bullies before, High Legate. We know what they look like, and we know what happens when good people do nothing to stop them. Bullies? Vextar laughed, the sound ringing like crystal bells. Child, you have no idea what you are facing. Our ships are the most advanced in the galaxy. Our plasma weapons can melt through any armor. Our shields can stop any attack. Your crude metal box would not last 10 seconds against one of our vessels, let alone 15. Maybe, Chen said. But we're not leaving. Vexatar shook his head in disbelief. These humans were either very brave or very stupid. Tell me, Captain, what makes you think your primitive weapons can harm our ships? Our weapons were designed by a species that has been fighting wars for thousands of years, Chen replied. We built them to kill other humans, and humans are very good at finding new ways to destroy things. This made Vextar pause. Most advanced species had moved beyond primitive warfare long ago. The Confederacy fought clean battles with elegant weapons and proper rules. But these humans sounded like they still practiced the ancient art of total war. Sublegate Kirith, Vextar said, turning to his weapons officer. What do our sensors tell us about their ship? Kirith studied her display. The ship is large but appears to use primitive chemical propulsion. No plasma weapons detected. Their shields seem to be some kind of electromagnetic field, rather than proper energy barriers. I count multiple projectile weapon systems, but nothing that should threaten our crystal armor. Projectile weapons? Vextar almost laughed out loud. They still use kinetic weapons? How wonderfully primitive. Captain Chen, Vextar said, returning his attention to the human. I will give you one last chance. Our plasma cannons operate at temperatures of 50 million degrees. Our shields can absorb the energy of a small star. Your metal projectiles will melt before they even reach our hulls. Leave now and we will let you live to tell your species about the power of the Confederacy. Chen was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled, and Vextar felt a small chill run through him. It was not a friendly smile. High Legate, let me tell you something about humans. We've been fighting each other for so long that we've learned to kill in ways that would make other species sick. We've fought with rocks and sticks, swords and arrows, gunpowder and missiles, nuclear fire and antimatter. We've killed millions of our own people learning how to build better weapons. Your point? Vextar asked, though he was beginning to feel less certain. My point is that everything on this ship was designed by people who spent their entire lives thinking about how to kill other people. Our armor is designed to stop weapons that can level cities. Our shields are built to deflect radiation that can cook a planet. And our weapons, Chen paused. Our weapons are built to make sure that when we fight someone, they don't get back up. Vextar felt the first stirring of doubt. There was something in the human captain's voice that reminded him of the old war stories, from the time when the Confederacy still had enemies that could fight back. You're bluffing, he said. No primitive species could threaten Confederacy ships. Maybe you're right, Chen said. But here's what's going to happen. You're going to stop attacking that refugee ship or we're going to stop you. Your choice. The communications channel closed, leaving the Zephyrian bridge in silence. Vextar stared at the human ship, trying to understand what he was seeing. The vessel didn't look like much, just a long metal hull covered with weapons and armor. But there was something about it that made him think of an ancient predator waiting to strike. High Legate, Kirith said. Should we destroy them? Vextar thought about it. The smart thing would be to leave the system and call for reinforcements. But he had 15 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy. How could he retreat from one primitive vessel? No, he decided. We will teach these humans their place. All ships prepare to fire. Target the human vessel first. Maximum power. The Zephyrian ship spread out in a perfect attack formation, their crystal hulls glowing as they charged their plasma cannons. Vextar felt confident again. Whatever these humans thought they could do, it wouldn't matter once the plasma fire began. Fire, he commanded. 15 streams of blue plasma shot across space toward the human battleship. The beams were beautiful and deadly, carrying enough energy to vaporize a mountain. Vextar watched with satisfaction as the plasma struck the human ship's shields. Then his satisfaction turned to shock. The plasma beams hit the ship's shields and scattered like water hitting stone. The human vessel sat there completely undamaged as if nothing had happened. What? Kirith stared at her instruments. That's impossible. Our plasma should have burned through any armor in the galaxy. Vextar felt cold fear creeping into his chest. The humans had not lied. Their defenses really could stop Confederacy weapons, but how? The answer came a moment later when the human ship fired back. But it wasn't the primitive projectile weapon Vextar had expected. Instead, a lance of pure energy shot from the human ship. Not plasma, but something else. Something that made space itself seem to bend and twist. The beam struck one of his escort ships, and Vextar watched in horror as the vessel simply disappeared. Not destroyed, not blown apart. It just ceased to exist as if it had never been there at all. High Legate, came a panicked voice from the communications officer. The humans are sending a message. Captain Chen's face appeared on the viewing crystal again, but this time she wasn't smiling. That was a warning shot, she said calmly. Stand down now or the next one won't miss. The bridge of the UES Prometheus was deadly quiet after Captain Chen's warning. The crew watched their stations, waiting for the alien response. The massive ship hung in space like a metal predator, its weapons still aimed at the Zephyrian fleet. Captain, whispered Commander Morrison, that particle beam just made one of their ships disappear. How are we supposed to explain that to Earth Command? Chen kept her eyes on the main screen. We'll worry about the paperwork later, Jake. Right now, we need to focus on saving that refugee ship. Lieutenant Torres looked up from her sensor station. Captain, the Zephyrian ships are powering down their weapons. I think we got their attention. But Chen knew better than to trust appearances. She had fought enough battles to know that enemies sometimes pretended to surrender before launching a surprise attack. Keep our shields up and weapons ready. I don't trust them yet. On the Zephyrian flagship, High Legate Vextar stared at his instruments in disbelief. The readings made no sense. According to his sensors, the human weapon had used some kind of focused antimatter beam to completely destroy one of his ships, but antimatter weapons were supposed to be impossible to control. Sublegate Kirith, he called out. Analysis of their weapon? Kirith's harmonious voice was shaking. High Legate, I've never seen anything like it. The beam appears to have been concentrated antimatter, but it was perfectly controlled. No species in the galaxy has that kind of technology. What about their defenses? Vextar asked. How did they stop our plasma fire? Their shields aren't like ours, Kirith replied, studying her readings. They don't absorb energy like our crystal barriers. Instead, they seem to deflect it. The plasma beams were scattered in all directions. Vextar felt a chill run through his body. The Confederacy had built their entire military strategy around plasma weapons and energy shields. If the humans could make both useless, then everything had changed. High Legate, the communications officer called out. The humans are sending another message. Captain Chen appeared on the viewing crystal again. This time she looked tired but determined. High Legate Vextar, I hope you understand now that we're serious. We don't want to fight you, but we won't let you destroy that refugee ship. Vexitar struggled to find his voice. Captain Chen, how is this possible? Your species is supposed to be primitive. You shouldn't have weapons that can threaten our ships. Chen smiled, but it wasn't a happy expression. High Legate, let me explain something about human technology. We didn't develop our weapons to fight aliens. We developed them to fight each other. And humans are really, really good at killing other humans. That antimatter beam, Chen continued, was originally designed to destroy human bunkers built deep underground. Our shields were built to protect against human nuclear weapons that can turn entire cities into glass. Everything on this ship exists because humans spent thousands of years trying to find better ways to destroy other humans. Vextar felt his world shifting around him. The Confederacy had always assumed that advanced species would move beyond war, that civilization meant peace. But these humans had become advanced through war, not despite it. Your plasma weapons are impressive, Chen said, but they're designed for clean, civilized combat. Our weapons are designed for total war. There's a difference. What do you want? Vextar asked. Let the refugee ship go, Chen replied. That's all. We don't want your territory and we don't want to fight you, but we're not going to stand by and watch you destroy helpless people. Vexitar looked at his remaining 14 ships, then at the human battleship. One shot had destroyed his most advanced escort vessel. What could the humans do if they really tried to fight? The Kethamori are criminals, he said weakly. Then prove it, Chen shot back. Show us evidence. Let us talk to them. If they're really criminals, we'll leave you alone. But if they're just refugees who refuse to bow to your empire, then we have a problem. Before Vextar could respond, another Zephyrian voice cut into the communication. It was Admiral Thekran, the fleet commander. High Legate Vextar, what is happening in that system? We lost contact with the escort ship Bright Wing. Vextar felt trapped between the human threat and his own command structure. Admiral, we have encountered a new species. They call themselves humans. They destroyed the Bright Wing with some kind of antimatter weapon. There was a long silence on the communication channel. Then Admiral Thekran's voice returned, filled with disbelief. A primitive species destroyed one of our ships? That's impossible. Admiral, Captain Chen's voice cut in. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earthship Prometheus. We don't want to fight you, but we will if we have to. All we want is for you to stop attacking that refugee ship. Admiral Thekran's musical voice turned cold. Human, you dare to threaten the Confederacy? We have ruled this region of space for 3,000 years. No primitive species will dictate terms to us. Admiral, Vextar said quickly, perhaps we should reconsider. Their weapons are more advanced than we thought. Nonsense, the Admiral replied. One lucky shot means nothing. High Legate, you will destroy that human ship immediately. I am sending reinforcements to ensure the job is done properly. Chen sighed on the communication channel. Admiral, you're making a mistake. We really don't want to fight you. The mistake, Admiral Thekron said, is thinking that your primitive species can threaten the might of the Confederacy. High-legged Vextar, attack now. Vextar looked at his crew, then at the human ship on his viewing crystal. He had a choice to make. Follow orders and probably watch his entire fleet get destroyed, or disobey his admiral and face court-martial. High-legged, Kirith whispered. What are your orders? Before Vextar could answer, Captain Chen spoke again. High-legged, I'm going to make this simple for you. That refugee ship is under human protection now. Anyone who attacks it attacks us. And I promise you, we've had a lot more practice at this kind of fighting than you have. Chen paused, then added quietly, We really don't want to hurt anyone. But we will if we have to. Vexitar stared at the human captain for a long moment. There was something in her eyes that reminded him of the old stories about the Confederacy's ancient enemies. Beings who would fight to the death rather than surrender. Admiral Thekron, he said finally, I recommend we withdraw and send a diplomatic mission to negotiate with these humans. High-legged Vextar. The Admiral's voice was sharp with anger. You will attack that ship now, or you will be stripped of command. Vexitar closed his eyes and made his choice. All ships prepare to attack the human vessel. Maximum firepower. On the Prometheus, Captain Chen shook her head sadly. I was hoping they would be smarter than this. All hands prepare for combat. They made their choice. The space around the distant star filled with the glow of charging weapons as both fleets prepared for battle, but only one side truly understood what they were about to face. The Zephyrian ships moved into attack formation like a school of deadly fish. Their crystal hulls caught the starlight as they prepared to show these upstart humans the true power of the Confederacy. High-legged Vextar watched from his command center, his heart heavy with doubt but his duty clear. All ships, target the human vessel, he commanded. Fire everything we have. Show them the might of the Confederacy. 14 Zephyrian warships opened fire at once, the space between the fleets filled with brilliant blue plasma beams, each one carrying enough energy to melt a small moon. The attack was beautiful and terrible, like watching a star explode in slow motion. The plasma beams struck the Prometheus and scattered like raindrops hitting a steel wall. The human ship's electromagnetic shields deflected the energy in all directions, turning the deadly plasma into harmless light that painted the surrounding space in shades of blue and white. On the Prometheus bridge, Captain Chen watched the light show with grim satisfaction. Their weapons are designed to overwhelm energy shields, she said to Commander Morrison. Too bad for them we don't use energy shields. Damage report? Chen called out. No damage, Captain, reported Chief Engineer Rodriguez from his station. The electromagnetic barriers are holding perfectly. Their plasma can't penetrate our deflection field. Chen nodded and opened a communication channel to the Zephyrian fleet. High-legged Vextar, you had your chance. Now it's our turn. She turned to her weapons officer. Lieutenant Park, show them what human weapons can do. But remember, we're not trying to wipe them out. We're trying to teach them a lesson. Lieutenant Park's fingers danced over his controls. Aye, Captain. Railgun batteries 1 through 6, loading tungsten penetrator rounds, setting velocity to 15% light speed. The Prometheus had been built during humanity's expansion into space, when Earth's governments still worried about fighting each other among the stars. Its weapons were designed to crack open the most heavily defended space stations and destroy the largest battleships humans could build. Firing, Park announced. 6 metal slugs shot from the Prometheus like invisible hammers of death. Each one was only the size of a man's fist, but they moved so fast that space itself seemed to bend around them. The tungsten penetrators crossed the distance between the fleets in less than a second. The first slug hit a Zephyrian cruiser dead center. The ship's energy shields tried to stop it, but the tungsten projectile punched through the crystal barrier like it wasn't even there. The slug continued through the ship's beautiful hull, tearing a hole from bow to stern before exiting the other side. The cruiser died without a sound, its crystal structure cracking and shattering as atmosphere vented into space. The other 5 slugs found their targets with the same deadly precision, and 5 more Zephyrian ships simply ceased to exist. On the Zephyrian flagship, sub-legged Kirith stared at her instruments in horror. High-legged 6 ships destroyed in one attack. The projectiles moved faster than our sensors could track them. Vextar felt his world crumbling around him. Half his fleet had been wiped out in seconds by weapons that should have been primitive. How is this possible? Captain Chen's voice came over the communication channel, calm and professional. Hi, Leggett. Kinetic energy equals mass times velocity squared. Our slugs might be small, but when you accelerate them to 15% of light speed, they hit harder than your plasma cannons. You still have 8 ships left, Chen continued. I suggest you use them to rescue the survivors from the ships we just destroyed. Then leave this system. But before Vextar could respond, Admiral Thecaron's voice cut through the channel filled with rage. All ships, continue the attack. Do not let these primitives intimidate you. The remaining Zephyrian ships hesitated, caught between their respect for human firepower and their fear of the Admiral. Finally, duty won out over common sense, and they began moving toward the Prometheus again. Captain Chen sighed and shook her head. They just don't learn, do they? Lieutenant Park, show them what else we brought to the party. Aye, Captain. Loading nuclear-tipped missiles yield 50 megatons each. Particle beam arrays coming online. Gravitational pulse weapon charging. The Prometheus had been designed by people who understood that sometimes you needed to destroy your enemies so completely that their friends would think twice about fighting you. Every weapon on the ship had been built to kill other humans, and humans had gotten very good at killing. Missiles away, Park reported. 12 nuclear missiles streaked toward the Zephyrian ships, their engines leaving trails of fire across the darkness. The Zephyrians tried to shoot them down with plasma fire, but the missiles were too fast and too small to hit easily. The first missile reached its target and detonated in a ball of nuclear fire. The explosion vaporized a Zephyrian destroyer and sent waves of radiation washing over the nearby ships. One by one, the other missiles found their marks, turning the elegant alien vessels into clouds of radioactive gas. Particle beams firing, Park announced. 3 beams of concentrated particles shot from the Prometheus like spears of light. They cut through the remaining Zephyrian ships like a hot knife through ice, slicing them apart at the atomic level. The beautiful crystal hulls came apart in perfect geometric pieces that glittered as they tumbled through space. Gravitational pulse weapon ready, Park said. Fire, Chen ordered. The gravitational pulse weapon was humanity's newest toy, developed from research into artificial black holes. It didn't destroy ships, and it crushed them. The pulse hit the last 3 Zephyrian vessels and squeezed them like an invisible fist, compressing their crystal hulls into balls of super-dense matter. In less than 5 minutes, 15 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy had been reduced to debris and radiation. Only Vexitar's flagship remained, and it was only alive because Chen had decided to let it live. The Zephyrian bridge was filled with the sound of alarms and the musical cries of his crew. Kirith was openly weeping, her harmonious voice broken with grief. Hi, Leggett, the fleet is gone. All of them. 14 ships and over 50,000 souls. Vextar stared at the empty space where his fleet had been. The humans had not just defeated them, they had erased them. Ships that had taken decades to build, crews that had trained for centuries, weapons that represented the pinnacle of Confederacy technology, all gone in minutes. Hi, Leggett Vextar, Captain Chen's voice came over the communication channel. I'm sorry it came to this. We tried to warn you. How? Vextar whispered. How is this possible? You're supposed to be primitive. Hi, Leggett, let me tell you something about humans, Chen said gently. We've been fighting wars for so long that we've forgotten how to fight clean ones. Every weapon on this ship was designed by people who spent their entire lives thinking about how to kill other people more efficiently. Your plasma weapons are beautiful and elegant. Our railguns are ugly and brutal. Your ships are works of art. Our ship is a flying weapons platform. Your tactics are civilized and honorable. Our tactics are designed to win at any cost. Chen paused, then continued. The difference, High Leggett, is that you fight wars like a game. We fight wars like our survival depends on it. Because for most of human history it did. Vextar felt his understanding of the galaxy shift around him. The Confederacy had assumed that advanced species would naturally become peaceful and civilized. But these humans had become advanced through violence, not despite it. What happens now? He asked. Now you go home, Chen said. You tell your admiral what happened here. You tell your government that humanity exists, and that we're not interested in conquest. But also tell them that we will protect innocent people, no matter who threatens them. And the Keth Mori ship? Vextar asked. Is under our protection now, Chen replied firmly. If they really are criminals, we'll deal with them ourselves. but somehow I doubt they are. Vextar looked around his damaged bridge at his surviving crew, at the empty space where his fleet had been. Then he made the hardest decision of his long career. Helm set course for Confederacy space, maximum speed. As the last Zephyrian ship limped away from the battlefield, Captain Chen turned her attention to the damaged refugee vessel. It was time for humanity to make some new friends among the stars. The space around the refugee ship was quiet now except for the gentle hum of the Prometheus engines. The debris from the Zephyrian fleet drifted slowly through the darkness, glittering like deadly snow in the starlight. Captain Chen stood on her bridge watching the alien vessel that had started this whole mess. "Captain," Lieutenant Torres called out from her station. "The refugee ship is trying to communicate with us." "Put them through," Chen ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing the interior of the alien ship. The being that appeared was tall and thin, with dark gray skin and large golden eyes. When it spoke, its voice was deep and rough, completely different from the musical tones of the Zephyrians. "Unknown ship. I am Captain Mortek of the Keth Mori vessel Wanderer's Hope. You have saved our lives and we are in your debt. But I must ask, what manner of beings are you? Your weapons are unlike anything we have seen." Chen smiled. "Captain Mortek, I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth ship Prometheus. We are humans from a planet called Earth. We're new to this part of space." Mortek's large eyes widened. "Humans, Earth? These names are unknown to us. But your courage is not. You faced 15 Zephyrian warships to protect strangers. This is a rare thing in the galaxy. What did the Zephyrians want with you?" Chen asked. Mortek's expression grew sad. "We are refugees, Captain Chen. Our homeworld was conquered by the Confederacy 50 years ago. They demanded that we bow to their rule, accept their laws, and give up our independence. When we refused, they declared us criminals and began hunting us across the galaxy." "So you've been running for 50 years? Commander Morrison asked. "Yes," Mortek replied. "My people scatter across space in small groups, searching for worlds where we can live in peace. But the Confederacy considers us property that belongs to them. They hunt us wherever we go." Chen felt anger rising in her chest. She had seen this pattern before in human history. Powerful empires crushing smaller peoples who just wanted to be left alone. "How many of you are there?" "On this ship?" 300 souls. "In the galaxy?" "Perhaps 50,000 scattered across 100 worlds. We are all that remains of a people who once numbered in the billions." The bridge of the Prometheus went quiet. Everyone understood what they were hearing. The slow genocide of an entire species, carried out by an empire that claimed to represent civilization. "Captain Mortek," Chen said carefully, "would your people be interested in coming to human space? We have worlds that could use new settlers, and we believe in the right of people to govern themselves." Mortek stared at her for a long moment. "You would offer sanctuary to strangers, even though it might anger the Confederacy?" Chen looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew. She saw determination in their eyes, the same look humans had worn throughout history when they decided to fight for what was right. "Captain, humans have a saying. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. We won't do nothing." Meanwhile, high-legged Vextar's damaged flagship limped through space toward Confederacy territory. The ship's communication arrays were working overtime, sending reports to every corner of the Empire. The news was spreading like wildfire. A new species had appeared, and they had weapons that could destroy Confederacy fleets. On the Confederacy capital world of Zephyr Prime, Admiral Thekran stood before the High Council, trying to explain what had happened. The council chamber was a masterpiece of crystal architecture, with light dancing through its walls in patterns that hurt alien eyes to look at. "You expect us to believe," said High Counselor Veltar, "that one primitive ship destroyed an entire fleet? This is impossible. High Counselor, I have the sensor recordings from Vextar's ship. The humans used weapons we have never seen before. Kinetic projectiles moving at significant fractions of light speed, controlled antimatter beams, gravitational weapons that could crush our ships like insects." The High Council was silent for a long moment. Finally, another counselor spoke. "If this is true, then everything has changed. Our entire military doctrine is based on energy weapons and shields. If these humans can make both useless, then we need to make contact with them immediately," finished High Counselor Veltar. "Admiral, prepare a diplomatic mission. We must learn more about these humans and their intentions." The news spread beyond the Confederacy as well. In the crystal cities of the Altarian Republic, the bioships of the Nexari Collective, and the geometric habitats of the Crystalline Alliance, beings gathered around communication devices to hear the impossible story. A new species had appeared from the galactic rim. They were called humans, and they had destroyed a Confederacy fleet with weapons that no one understood. Some species began planning diplomatic missions to this mysterious Earth. Others started designing new weapons, based on the scattered reports of human technology, but the most important reaction came from the scattered refugee populations hiding throughout the galaxy. The Kethmori were not the only people who had been displaced by expanding empires. Dozens of species lived in exile, hiding in the dark corners of space, dreaming of a place where they could live free. Now, for the first time in generations, they had hope. Somewhere in the galaxy was a species that would fight for strangers, that would risk war to protect the innocent. The word spread through hidden channels and secret networks. The humans were coming, and they brought justice with them. Back on the Prometheus, Captain Chen stood in her ready room, looking out at the stars through the large viewport. The Kethmori ship was following them toward human space, along with 2 other refugee vessels that had appeared after hearing about the battle. Commander Morrison entered the room and stood beside her. "Captain, Earth Command is asking for a full report on first contact. They want to know what we've gotten humanity into." Chen smiled. "Jake, tell Earth Command that we've just announced to the galaxy that humanity exists. We've made enemies of an empire that's ruled this region for thousands of years. We've offered sanctuary to refugees from a dozen different species. And we've probably started the biggest change in galactic politics since faster-than-light travel was invented." Morrison raised an eyebrow. "Should I mention that part about starting a potential galactic war?" "Definitely mention that," Chen replied. "But also tell them this. We didn't go looking for a fight. We found people who needed help and we helped them. That's what humans do." "And if the Confederacy comes after us?" Morrison asked. Chen looked out at the stars, thinking about the vast human fleet that was even now being built in shipyards around Earth and her colonies. Ships bigger than the Prometheus, with weapons that made railguns look like toys. Humanity had always been good at building tools of war. "Then they'll learn what humans are really capable of when we're fighting for something we believe in," she said quietly. "And Jake? I don't think they're going to like the lesson." The Prometheus continued its journey toward human space, followed by its small convoy of refugee ships. Behind them, the galaxy was already beginning to change. Empires were calling emergency sessions. Species were choosing sides. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, the first human colony ships were already being loaded with weapons and heading for the frontier. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy. They had declared their values and shown their strength. From this day forward, nothing would ever be the same. The age of human expansion among the stars had begun. And for the first time in millennia, the oppressed peoples of the galaxy had someone to call when darkness fell.